Now we're on Chapter 8. Chapter 8 is Ms. Sanchez Says. Quiet, ladies and gentlemen, Ms. Sanchez says on Wednesday morning from the front of the class. And she taps her solid gold pen on her desk. We all try to look as if we are paying attention, even though half of the class feels like falling asleep because the room is so hot. And the other half, the half with me in it, wants to run outside and play. It is a beautiful day, just the way Mom said it would be. Pay attention, please, Miss Sanchez says, tapping her pen again. I have an announcement. We're going to do a science experiment. It's Mud Shake Day. But I thought we only had to do science on Tuesdays, Heather Patton says in a really loud whisper, because you're not supposed to talk out loud in class without raising your hand first. Heather sits behind me in class, and ever since her teenage sister told her she was going to have to cut up a dead frog in science class when she is a teenager, she has hated the entire subject. Heather doesn't even like frogs that are alive, much less dead. I'm not exactly looking forward to cutting up a dead frog, by the way, but it might be interesting if the frog didn't get run over, and if it died of old age after leading a long and happy life. For a frog. From now on, Heather, Miss Sanchez says with an ice cube in her voice, please raise your hand if you have something to say. Sorry, Heather mumbles. With this experiment, Miss Sanchez says, sneaking a look at her notes, we will continue our exploration of soil and its components. Okay. Components means parts. I happen to know. Only Miss Sanchez can't just say parts for some reason. Probably because it's too simple a word and we wouldn't get smart if she always said things the simplest way. So Miss Sanchez has to say soil when she really means dirt, for example. Next to me, Annie Pat Masterson aims a smile at Emma McGraw because they both love science, even when it's just about dirt. Here is what your ideal garden soil is made up of, Miss Sanchez says, and she writes something on the board. 1. 40% sand. 2. 40% silt. 3. 20% clay. Now, who can tell me what this means, she asks. Cynthia raises her hand and starts talking, before Miss Sanchez even calls on her, which is typical of Cynthia. Ideal means best, she says in a very loud voice, and she smiles using all her teeth and looks around like she's waiting for us to cheer. Miss Sanchez sighs. That is correct, Cynthia, she says. But I was really talking about what the numbers on the board mean. Well, I didn't know that, Cynthia says, folding her arms across her chest and frowning, which is never a good sign with her. Cynthia is a girl who knows how to hold a grudge. The whole class sits in silence for a minute, hoping someone will raise her hand. In other words, we are counting on Cry Rodriguez to save us. Cry's real name is Kristen, and she is pretty with long black hair, and she moved to Oakland just before Thanksgiving, and she is very good at math. She slowly raises her hand like there is a red balloon tied to her wrist. Yes, Cry? Miss Sanchez says, smiling in relief. Cry clears her throat. I think the numbers mean that almost half the soil is sand, she says, and almost half is silt, and half of almost half is clay, which adds up to 100%. Big deal, Cynthia Cough says into her hand. Heather laughs to back her up. Whatever silt is, she mutters. And what is silt? Miss Sanchez asked in her coldest voice. Heather, perhaps you can enlighten us? Enlighten sounds like Miss Sanchez wants Heather to make us all turn white, which most of my class already is, basically. Except for me, Kevin, and two very quiet girls who go to the same church. Not mine. Or else it sounds like our teacher wants Heather to make us light as feathers so we could float up to the ceiling. Which would be cool, but no such luck. That's not what Miss Sanchez means. What enlighten us really means is to shine a light on something. Only a pretend light, not a real light. In other words, she wants Heather to explain to us what silt is. I know this, but I do not raise my hand. I don't want to make Jared and Stanley any madder at me than they already are, which they will be if they think I'm showing off by acting smart in class. I don't know, Heather mumbles again. Anyone? Miss Sanchez asks, but no one raises their hand, not even cry. Miss Sanchez starts to pull up her blue dictionary from the shelf. Look it up, she usually says when a strange word comes along. Like every minute, practically. But all of a sudden, Fiona McNulty slowly raises her hand. This is something that she hardly ever does because she is the shyest kid in class. Yes, Fiona, Miss Sanchez says, trying to hide her surprise. Fiona closes her eyes before she speaks as if she is about to get a shot at the doctor's office. Silt is like this teeny tiny dirt that the water moves around, and when the water goes away, the tiny dirt kind of piles up all over the place, she says, squeaking out the words. My grandpa lives near the Colorado River, she adds, opening one eye as she explains how she knows such an unusual thing. Well, that's basically correct, Miss Sanchez says, after checking her notes once more. Very good, Fiona. Fiona blushes. And so here is our experiment, people, Miss Sanchez says. We have 8 glass jars with lids filled up almost to the top with water, and we have 8 mystery soil samples to work with. Teachers always use words like mystery when they are trying to make something boring sound interesting. But there are 24 kids in our class, Cynthia objects, looking around. So, how many students will be on each mudshake team? Miss Sanchez asks, peeking at her watch. Tick-tock, people. Tick-tock means hurry up when she says it like this. We all look at Cry. 3, she says. Correct, Miss Sanchez tells us. So listen as I call out the teams. Emma, Jared, and EllRay, she finally says. Well, it could have been worse, I remind myself. Could have been Stanley, Jared, and EllRay. I want each team to carefully pour its mystery soil sample into its water jar. Miss Sanchez calls out, still reading from her notes. We let Emma do the pouring, of course, because she's a girl, and girls are always neat. Neater than boys, anyway. Now, Miss Sanchez says, I'm going to come around and add a spoonful of alum to each jar before you start shaking it. Alum, she pronounces it. Across the room, Annie Pat raises her hand. Why? She asks. What's alum? Like I said before, Annie Pat and Emma love science, and they are always full of questions whenever our class does something the least bit scientific. But that's okay because it uses up the time. Miss Sanchez sighs as if she was afraid Annie Pat or Anna would ask this question. Alum has something to do with aluminum, she says, And for some reason, it makes the soil samples separate more easily into their varying layers of sand, silt, and clay, which will help our experiment. But I'd appreciate it if you look up alum for us tonight, Annie Pat, and fill us all in first thing tomorrow morning. Okay, Annie Pat tells her, looking important as she writes down her own personal assignment. Miss Sanchez adds a spoonful of white stuff, alum, to each glass jar. Now stir, she tells us, and Emma hands me the popsicle stick as if stirring things up is obviously my kind of job. So I do it because who cares? Lids on, Miss Sanchez says, and shake. That's going to be Jared's job, of course. Jared the mighty, Jared the strong. In about 2 seconds, he crams the lid on the jar wrong, turns toward me, and starts shaking the mud-filled jar. Hard, hard, hard. He practically aims it at me. Without holding down the lid, and flooey, there is mud. Components of soil, I mean, all over my best, almost new t-shirt that has San Diego Padres logo on it and everything. San Diego is the largest city near Oak Glen. It is the very same t-shirt I was supposed to wear to the Sycamore Shopping Center this afternoon with my little sister Alfie and my mom, who was going to buy me a corn dog because I got almost all of my Monday spelling words right for once. It is the t-shirt Jared looks at with hungry eyes whenever I wear it. Oh no, Emma cries, holding her cheeks with both hands like the kid in that movie. Oops, Jared says, with the happiest look in the world on his big, dumb face. Sorry, EllRay. And it's only Wednesday morning.